Can I tell you something? When I was trying to name my virtual yoga studio, the one focused on teacher development where I now operate after selling my half of the brick and mortar studio I had co owned for 15 years, I kept coming back to one phrase: comfort zone. Now, I know what you're probably thinking. Comfort zone is supposed to be a bad thing, right? Get out of your comfort zone. Growth happens outside your comfort zone. We hear it everywhere. It's practically or literally a bumper sticker. But here's the thing, I think that framing is wrong, at least for yoga teachers. There's a definition of the comfort zone that I love. The comfort zone is the place where you can operate without fear of failure. I'll say that again. The comfort zone is the place where you can operate without fear of failure. Being in your comfort zone is not a limitation, it's a superpower. So what if instead of leaving your comfort zone, you expanded it? What if you made your comfort zone so big that teaching yoga to whoever walks through the door, any age, any body, any experience level, lives inside it? That's why I named it Comfort Zone Yoga. And today I want to tell you what that actually means for you, for your teaching, and for the 200-hour yoga teacher training I am launching this year. I'm Sage Rountree, and this is Yoga Teacher Confidential. Let's start with what most yoga teachers experience when they walk into a room to teach. You're scanning the room, you see a student you've never seen before, maybe someone who's clearly brand new, maybe someone older than your usual crowd, maybe someone in a bigger body, maybe someone who looks like they could teach your class. And something tightens. Not a lot, just enough that you second-guess the plan you made. You wonder if you should change things. You're in your head instead of in the room. That tightness, that's the edge of your comfort zone. And most of us were never given the tools to expand it. Think about what happens in a typical 200-hour yoga teacher training. You learn poses, you learn anatomy, maybe far more anatomy than you will ever use in the classroom. You learn some philosophy. You practice teaching your fellow trainees who are all roughly the same age and fitness level and who already love yoga. And then you graduate. And the very first time someone walks into your class who doesn't look like the people you trained with, you are outside your comfort zone. You're improvising. You may even feel scared. I know this because I lived it. In my early years of teaching, I was driven by ego more than I would like to admit. I'm a Leo. I changed my lesson plan constantly. Every single class got a brand new sequence because I thought that's what good teachers did. I thought creativity meant novelty, that being a great yoga teacher meant always surprising people. What I was actually doing was giving myself only a first draft of every class I ever taught. And my students, they never got the chance to go deeper into anything because I kept changing the terrain underneath them. It took me years, and honestly, it took my background coaching endurance athletes to realize that what I was doing in my athletes' training plans was the opposite of what I was doing in the yoga room. With athletes, consistency was the standard. Progressive overload, structured repetition, build on what you did last week. Once I applied those exercise physiology and pedagogy principles to yoga, everything changed. Not just for me, for my students. And that's the topic of an upcoming episode. Here's where this gets personal, for you, not just for me. One of the things I believe most deeply is that your backstory isn't baggage, it's your class curriculum. I don't mean that in a vague, inspirational way, I mean it practically. In my book, The Professional Yoga Teacher's Handbook, I lay out a framework. Write your backstory, find your audience, find your content, find your message. The obstacle you overcame, the injury, the career change, the self-doubt, the health scare, that gives you authority to teach the very people who share that challenge. I have trained to-be yoga teachers, professional poker players, and salsa dancers, nurses and doctors, professors and college students, retirees and career changers, someone who had had a double knee replacement, someone who thought they were too overweight for yoga. And every single one of them brought something no one else in the room had. And every single one of them discovered that the thing they were most self-conscious about was exactly what made them a powerful yoga teacher. Here's why. When something has come easy to you your whole life, it's a blind spot and you can't teach it well. You don't know how to break it down. You just say, just do it. Let them eat cake, right? But when you have had to overcome an obstacle, when flexibility didn't come naturally, when you had to figure out how to practice in a bigger body, when you had to rebuild after an injury, you know every single step of that path. You know where people get stuck. You know what it feels like to be scared of trying. And that is what makes you a teacher who can actually help. The person who struggled with balance teaches balance better than the person who never wobbled. The person who came to yoga after years of chronic pain teaches with a sensitivity that someone who's always felt good in their body simply can't access. Your obstacle is your credential. This is where movement optimism comes in, the belief that there's nothing inherently wrong in any movement. When you operate from that place, you free yourself and your students from fear-based micromanagement of alignment. You stop policing bodies and start facilitating experiences. Which brings me back to the name Comfort Zone Yoga. There are actually two sides to comfort, and I think about both of them pretty much all the time. Most people come to yoga looking for comfort with discomfort. They want to push into their growth zone. They want to get stronger, more flexible, more resilient. And yoga asana, especially the more challenging forms, can be really good at that. You learn to breathe through difficulty. You learn to stay when your body is telling you to bail. That's valuable work. But the populations I work with most, in particular athletes, high-performance athletes, already have plenty of experience being comfortable with being uncomfortable. They live out there at the edge. They push well into their growth zone every single day. That's their whole deal. What's harder for them is comfort with comfort, leaning into the softer styles of yoga, the stillness, the rest, the recovery, yin yoga, restorative yoga, yoga nidra. These are the practices that hold the most rewards for people who already know how to push. And they're the hardest for those people to access. So the name Comfort Zone Yoga holds both of those ideas. For some students, the growth is learning to be comfortable with discomfort. For others, the growth is learning to be comfortable with comfort. And as a yoga teacher, your job is to know the difference, to read the room, to read the person, and to meet them where they actually are. That's part of what I teach in the 200-hour training. And it's a thread I pull much deeper in my 300-hour training, where we go deep into yin, restorative, yoga nidra, styles that are fundamentally about creating the conditions for comfort, for stillness, and for recovery. And here's the core paradox I want you to sit with. The fears that feel the biggest for yoga teachers, I'm scared, I have imposter syndrome, I have no confidence, all have one thing in common. They put the teacher at the center. But the teacher isn't the center. The teacher is the guide. When you shift that center back to the practice and back to the students, those fears that limit you start to quiet down. You become almost everyone's favorite yoga teacher, not by trying to be everyone's favorite, but by genuinely not caring what they think of you, and instead pouring your energy into helping them as best you can. Ironically, that's what makes them love you. Now, how do you actually expand your comfort zone until teaching whoever walks in lives inside it? You need frameworks. Concrete, usable frameworks. The two that I have built my entire teaching life on are the 6-4-2 framework and the S.E.R.V.E method. 6-4-2 is a checklist for balanced movement. 6 moves of the spine, 4 lines of the legs, front, back, inside, outside, 2 core actions, stabilization and articulation. It's not a formula for counting poses. It's a structural checklist that eliminates the guesswork, so that you can build a physiologically balanced class for whoever shows up. All levels, all ages, all bodies. It's the recipe card. The S.E.R.V.E method is the bigger system. S, structure your sequences using the 6-4-2. E, experience your sequence as a student before you teach it. Record yourself walking through it, then follow your own guidance. Or follow a sequence with me in the prep station. R, repeat your lesson plan for a month with intentional weekly variations, like progressive overload in an athletic training block, but a big emphasis on repetition. Then, once you have that bedrock of repetition, V, vary with intention, based on the students actually in front of you. And the second E, evolve your voice over time. This happens naturally, inevitably, as you follow the S.E.R.V.E method. When you have these tools, something shifts. You're not staring at a blank page on Sunday night, wondering what to teach. You're not changing your plan because someone unfamiliar walked in. The anxiety quiets down. And what takes its place is confidence. Real confidence, the kind that comes from knowing your structure is sound and your job is to be present. That's what expanding your comfort zone actually looks like in practice as a yoga teacher. Your systems are reliable enough that your mind is free to see the room. You notice who needs a modification. You notice who's connecting very deeply. You notice who walked in carrying something heavy and is using this hour to set it down. You're allowed to want that. I spent decades figuring this out through trial and error, so you don't have to. That's what these frameworks are for. Here's what I want you to take away from today. Your comfort zone is not a cage. It's a space you can grow. And the way you grow it is not by white-knuckling your way through terrifying situations. It's by building frameworks, practicing them, and letting that preparation create real presence. That's what comfort zone yoga is about. And that's what I named it for. And that's the foundation of the 200-hour yoga teacher training I'm offering this year. A fully online, Yoga Alliance registered, American Yoga Council accredited program designed to make you the kind of yoga teacher who can walk into any room and teach whoever's there. If that resonates with you, I'm hosting 2 free live open houses where you can experience what learning together feels like. April 18th and May 16th, both at noon Eastern Time. Sign up at comfortzoneyoga.com or hit the link in the show notes. And if you're not sure yet, that's fine too. Start with Finding Your Voice. It's a free mini course inside Comfort Zone Yoga that gives you a real taste of how I teach. Or pick up the Professional Yoga Teacher's Handbook. By the time you finish either one, the mini course or the book, you will know whether this is your world. Next week's episode, I'm going to talk you through the 200-hour training in detail. What's in it, how it works, what it costs, and who it's for. Consider that one your guided tour of the sales page. It's the transparent, no BS version of everything you would want to know before investing in a yoga teacher training or reinvesting, even if you've already done one 200-hour training. Thank you so much for joining me. This is Yoga Teacher Confidential. I'm Sage Rountree, and I'll see you next time.